Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is an internationally renowned singer from England whose rich, powerful, soulful voice delivers a unique jazz fusion that incorporates her R&B, gospel, jazz, funk, and blues influences. She's been twice nominated as Best Jazz Vocalist by the BBC and Jazz FM, and the London Sunday Times described her jazz vocals as vintage R&B with shades of Aretha Franklin. With her raw, smoldering voice that's full of heat, she conquered the London jazz scene at the age of 17. And since then, she's become a regular at the legendary jazz club Ronnie Scott's in London. She's performed at Royal Albert Hall, opening for George Benson and Gladys Knight, and in 2018, she had a residency at New York's legendary Birdland Jazz Club. She's performed on tour across the USA, Europe, and Asia, from Java Jazz in Indonesia to the Montreal Jazz Festival and the Pittsburgh Jazz Festival. In 2014, renowned producer George Claiborne signed her to his record label, Resonance Records in Los Angeles, where she's recorded 3 highly acclaimed albums, Many Faces of Love, Is It Me, and All I Can Do. On June 30th, she'll be releasing her 9th studio album entitled As It Is, containing 10 original songs composed by our guest, who not only produced the album, she accompanied herself at the piano, supported by a great team of musicians. The songs on the album feature heartfelt stories of personal struggle and resilience, with magnificent vocals, always characterized by this brilliant singer's wit and grace. Here's a little clip of her first single, Man of Moderation, to whet your appetite.
He's a man of moderation, and he knows the chase is on. It's all now got a bit pointless, so the TV just blares on. He's a man of moderation, but the chips fall where they may, and there's not much you can really do, and there's not much that he will say anyway.
In describing this woman's voice, we need go no further than Peter Quinn of Jazzwise magazine, who proclaimed her a truly exceptional, once-in-a-generation talent, possessing a voice of such sizzling intensity and raw emotion that you could fry an egg on it. I'm delighted to welcome Polly Gibbons to our show. Polly, thank you so much for being here.
Really my pleasure, Harvey. Thanks for having me.
Polly, your musical stylings reflect a very unusual and unique blend of numerous musical genres, especially R&B, soul, blues, gospel, and even hip hop. What kind of music did you listen to when you were growing up?
Well, I am a farmer's daughter from Suffolk, and that's a little province, a little area of the UK. And there was a lot of different music orbiting the house. My mum loved classical, but my dad was a farmer, but he also played electric bass in a rhythm and blues band. And I think it was a really early influence for me hearing blues. And my sisters collected vinyl, and that's where I first heard jazz and hip hop.
Well, I'll tell you who I hear in various portions of various songs. I can hear the influences of Mahalia Jackson, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, Miles Davis, and Nina Simone.
Oh, yeah, they're all my favorites. When I first heard, I think it was Billie Holiday, I first heard her, and it just sent me down this extraordinary, life-changing route and investigation of this music that I've known and loved since I was 13, 14 years old. I never was into the pop music of the day. I think it just immediately soul, that deep emotional music, that grabbed me. And once you've had that, it's hard to sort of get into pop, actually.
Now, Polly, I read that you were very badly bullied when you were a kid. You and I have that in common. And I'm wondering whether the emotional scars you carry from that experience drew you to the types of music that resonate with you, for example, the blues.
I think you're probably right, actually. I mean, I definitely have a sort of a feeling, a very innate feeling for the blues. And I can only really attribute it to deep feelings and sort of alienation of it when I was a young age. I don't know, I mean, yeah, it's a fascinating history, the blues, and so far from where I'm from in many ways. But yeah, struggle and yeah, being bullied was, deeply painful from being a very young, innocent little child, as it is for everybody. It's a cruel thing, and human beings, we carry on doing it to each other, which is extraordinary, which I didn't realize for a long time. When I got to be an adult, I thought, this is strange. This still happens a little bit in a different way. But when you're a child, you're so innocent, aren't you? And you're so open and hopeful. And then when that happens, it's quite, shocking and sad. Yeah.
I think that having been made to feel victimized is a kind of emotional scar that translates very well into artistry, especially music. And it gives you a richness and a texture to your voice that underdogs feel they can identify with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you put it very well. I think you're right. You put it better than I can, I think. Yeah, I think you said it. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you realized that you had a really great voice?
Well, I think music must have been percolating for a long time, but I was about 13. I wasn't very young. I was always interested in acting, actually. And I still find acting to a certain extent, although I haven't taken it to the level that I have my singing, so it's hard to say, but I still find acting easier in the sense that you're playing a character. Whereas the singing that I really love is just me to you, direct, that's what I, with as much honesty and rawness as possible. But so I remember my cousin, I was about 13, and I was singing along to a hip hop, the chorus of Amoni Love. It's a shame the way you're messing around with my heart, which is, of course, a sample. And she went, Polly, you've got a really nice voice. And I said, what singing voice? I wondered if she thought I had amazing received pronunciation or something, and she said, yeah, singing. And she said, your tone is really unusual. She said, come and sing to your sister. So I sang to my sister, and she went, oh yeah, your sound, Polly, you've got a really lovely sound, a different breathy sound. And then my mum said, would you like it? And I said, well, I've never really thought about it. And then as soon as I kind of became kind of aware, I can sing, suddenly I was interested in music, singers, and quite quickly I kind of gobbled up music, and I seemed to quite quickly develop, learn songs, feel songs, know where I was gravitating. Yeah.
When you were 14, you sang a song by Etta James, I'd Rather Go Blind, at a school Christmas concert, and the audience gave you a standing ovation. Was that when you realized that you could actually have a career as a singer?
I remember being shocked because I was deeply self-conscious at performing, and I had my back to the whole audience for the entire performance. I couldn't look at people. I was very, very anxious. Having been bullied, you don't think I'm going to go and have people stare at me now. They're very odd, those positions, and so I was very embarrassed. So then when I sort of peeled myself round and saw that everyone went, oh, whoa, I was like, oh, okay. It was just a shock. It was a shock, really. But certainly an amazing, like bellow underneath me,
Was your family supportive of your decision to pursue a music career?
Yeah, so lucky. My parents, they were, they still are. They're still here, and they're beautiful, open-minded, kind of, they had a strong faith and a strong open ethos. Well, what do you love? Do what you love. The world needs people that do what they love, and use your gifts. It's very fortunate like that.
That's quite a blessing. I've had many stars on my show whose families were less than supportive, so that really is very fortunate, and it really helps a child's self-esteem, I think, if your parents agree with your aspirations.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but I don't imagine I'd have had the. I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted. Being an artist in this day and age, and also being an artist that doesn't, do particularly commercial music, or doesn't, I don't know, exploit their sexuality for gain. So I don't know whether I'd have had the wherewithal to pursue it if I hadn't got my mum and dad saying, you can do it, Paul. You know, you go for it, keep doing it, keep singing, keep it's good stuff, you know.
Now, as I mentioned in my introduction, you became well known in North America as a result of your professional association with my very good friend George Claiborne of Resonance
Mm.
Records. How did you get connected with George?
Well, quite wonderfully. It's just one of those things that happens in life when you least expect it. I was just being a jobbing singer, and a good friend, an acquaintance I knew in the UK said, I've got an idea for an online digital jazz and blues TV. He said, I haven't got any money. He said, but would you let me film you and record you for one song, and you'll have a nice demo of what you do, live video, and then I can show people the quality of work that I can produce. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. So I did it, and then he sent it to George with a view to maybe George in, I don't know, taking on or investing in this jazz and blues TV. And George, I don't think, went down that route for the TV show, but he said, who's the singer? And that was it. George then called me up. I think it was in the October of 2017, and by March 2018 I was in LA recording my first album with him.
Well, it was a marriage made in heaven, because those three albums are really magical. Now,
Thank you.
when you're performing iconic songs that were signature songs for legendary artists, for example, I Want a Little Sugar in My Bowl, made famous by Bessie Smith, or Dr. Feelgood by Aretha Franklin, when you're singing those songs, Polly, how do you strike a balance between paying tribute to the original artist and making the song your own?
Well, I mean, I can only do me, and they're so indelibly imprinted, those versions. You can't sort of unknow what you know. You can't unhear what you've heard. But I kind of take aspects of my humanity, my sexuality, my frustrations as a woman, my fierceness as a human being, the need to sort of go get, and that goes in there, I guess. And a lot of it's unconscious work. Like I said, there's no system for going, right, I'm going to take that and take that. It's just going, this is the song, and then this is me with it.
I think the thing that makes the song your own, when I hear a song that's been made legendary by another artist, is your tone. You have a very unique, instantly recognizable tone to your voice, which of course is very commercial, but also makes you distinct. And so when I hear you sing those songs, I'm not thinking of the other artists. I know the song.
That's good.
I know the words, I know the melody, but I'm not comparing.
And that's good. I'm really glad to hear that. And I think you're right. I think my sound, is a gift, really. I can only say that I don't know where it came from, but that it's a real, blessing. And I'm very thankful to have a sound that's quite distinctive and uniquely mine,
When you're performing in concert in the United States, are American audiences different than British audiences?
A little bit, yeah. If they really like it, In England, you're sort of not completely sure. There's a subtle energetic change in the UK if they like it. But in America, it's, girl, you can sing. It's like a sang. I've had a few people come up to me and go, in America, we don't say sing, we say sang, if you can really sing. So yeah, I've had some funny interactions, and really, enthusiastic. And I love that. I think it's the art form of the country. So I feel that there's a lot of pride in it. And I was worried, actually, that I don't know, I had this sort of, I don't know, Julie Andrews persona would sort of present itself singing their national art form, the treasure. And, that it wouldn't be well received. But I experienced a lot of pleasure, actually, from people, and being pleased and proud that their music was traveled so well and was felt so deeply.
There is quite a love affair artistically between the United States and England. You just have to look at the Academy Awards and listen to how many winners have English accents, right? And then the fact that you sing instantly recognizable American heritage songs. And that gives Americans a sense of great pride that their music is so internationally renowned and that you honor that music by choosing to sing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that. And it's, yeah, I mean, just generally culturally, I think character wise, I mean, we're known, aren't we, British, the stiff upper lip. So we're kind of that sort of archetype still lives. Of course, we're more, bigger, there's different expressors in the culture, but America is known for being more out there with how they feel with and saying it and singing it. And yeah, so I did feel that when I went there. I felt a lot of enthusiasm, which was great.
Would you ever consider moving to America and making New York or LA or Chicago your home base?
I don't ever imagine I'd call it home, but I mean, I'd definitely spend more time there should the moment arise. But I'm quite close to my family, really. I've got a sister that lives in Brazil, and we all pine for her, and she pines for us. And I think the UK will probably be home, but it's always fascinating going to America. Really is really interesting. Great big piece of land,
I'd love to see you go visit your sister in Brazil and then do an album of Brazilian music.
Interesting. Well, there's some extraordinary songs, and of course George at Resonance Records. George is, he's got. Well, I mean, he is half Brazilian. I think his father was Brazilian, and he can speak some Portuguese, and he loves. In the composition, some of the composers there are brilliant. Ivan Lins, obviously, Jobim. What's funny for me is I can't hear much blues, and I'm so bluesy. Brazilian music and the blues. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it a little bit more because I'm so sort of steeped in blues in everything I do. I mean, it might be an interesting. I always loved Elza Soares. Actually, I always found she was a real soul singer and of the Brazilian singers. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a pool I'd love to dip into one day.
Now, before we talk about your new album, I want to ask you a few questions about your earlier albums, especially the ones you recorded with George Claiborne. How did you go about choosing the songs for those 3 albums?
Well, the first one, Many Faces of Love, which was, it happened really quickly after I met George. He had quite a clear vision for this album. I think he'd been percolating it for a long time. And then he was just sort of waiting for the singer that he thought would do it. And I came along and it seemed to just work out. So that was pretty much George, I think, pretty much had those tunes ready to go. He the whole concept of the album, it was a kind of flowing from searching for love, finding love, the elation of love, losing love, and then it ends with this brilliant, love comes and goes, being philosophical about what love really is, about what life is, about the illusions of what we call romantic love. So that concept was pretty locked in, which I was, just happy to. And then the second one, Is It Me? As George and I got to know each other, he became aware that I liked writing and that I'd co-written some songs with James Pearson, who's a brilliant piano player over in the UK. And so then he was open, thankfully, to me recording some of my original tunes on Is It Me?
Well, can I just stop you there? Your album, Is It Me, has 2 of my all-time favorite songs on it, Wild is the Wind and Pure Imagination. Absolutely brilliantly done. For anyone watching who has not heard Polly Gibbons singing Wild is the Wind and Pure Imagination, go to your favorite music platform, find the album Is It Me, and buy it. I guarantee it will be playing in your home a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they're both beautiful songs, meaningful songs, clever songs, and the arrangements are excellent. James Pearson did the arrangement of Wild as the Wind, which I think is so evocative, and just immediately from the first 2 bars, it just opens you out to the harmony that he incorporates. It's brilliant. And then Pure Imagination, Tamir Hendelman arranged that tune and brought a lot of play and fun, but also that sort of surrealist quality that I think still, I mean, still for me anyway, I still associate with Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka. Yeah.
Now, on your album entitled All I Can Do, you sang Nothing Compares to You. Was that a tribute to Prince?
It was, yeah. Yeah. A massive influence for me growing up, Prince. What a fascinating artist in the truest sense. You know, you can't pin him down to a genre really. He's his own genre, and yeah, that song as well. I always loved it, and I thought, see if we can do that.
Now, I want to ask you about Polly Gibbons, the songwriter. Your original song, Midnight Prayer, that you wrote with James Pearson, won first place at the 2014 Indie International Songwriting Competition. Congratulations, Polly.
Thank you. Yeah, really, really pleased with that. George submitted that for us, and yeah, he was right. He knew it was a goodie. Thanks. Yeah.
What is it that drives your desire to compose original music?
I think being a singer, being a songbird is a special thing, which I love. I love interpreting other people's songs, but I sense that, you know, and for me, I've kind of got more. I've got more that I want to express, not only exclusively through just my voice, but through, you know, to be in the music, to think about how music works, and the colors of it, to be in the band, to be able to tell stories as well, to use other faculties of my musicality. It was really important for me to evolve. Yeah.
You and James Pearson wrote a song called All I Can Do Is Sing the Blues. Where did the inspiration for that song come from? It's very resonant, and it feels very personal.
Yeah, so I kind of came up with this, you know, and there's something about that felt that kind of groovy, but also a little bit haunting and repetitive, and, you know, thinking about life, you know, the difficulties and the struggles with life, and sometimes you just throw your hands up and go, all I'm going to do is sing the blues, you know, today, and that's okay. The complexity of being a human being in this day and age, you know.
Your maternal grandfather was a Baptist minister, and you grew up going to church. So my question is, does the faith and spirituality that you grew up with have any influence on your songwriting?
Undoubtedly, yeah, absolutely. I was just as well as that, my uncle is a Baptist minister, and also my dad and my uncle founded a Christian arts festival called Greenbelt in the UK, and it's celebrating 50 years this year, still going. And it was always about, you know, what it is to be a creative human being, but also to come from a creative, you know, the interlink between navigating this life and how we do it as benevolently and as lovingly as possible, and what it means to have this drive to try and create things and connect each other through creation, you know, and move each other, and how do we connect, you know, and art is just such a beautiful platform for doing that. So and it kept my faith very expansive and open. I think, you know, I think if I'd only had Christian doctrine to sort of hold me together, it might not have stayed relevant enough. I might not have been able to cling on to it as much if I hadn't had this open faith, which was interested in creation and connection and being relevant today. Yeah, so absolutely.
Now, this new album entitled As It Is quite a departure for you, Polly, because the entire album is made up of 10 songs that you composed. The first single is called Man of Moderation. Is it true that your father was the inspiration for that song?
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. And I thought it would be a nice touch. Some of my sisters, they don't sing professionally, but they like to sing, and so does my mum. So I got them in the studio to do some backing vocals for it too. It's got the family choir on there.
Yeah, that's lovely. The second single from the new album is called Disappointed. What's the story behind that song?
It's a slightly silly, playful idea that, you know, kind of above and beyond, you know, the end of a relationship and the hurt and the sadness, it's just disappointing. So it's just the end of a relationship. It's just frankly disappointing. So that's what it was about, that one. I'm just disappointed.
There's another song on the album called The Hair and the Toilet Seat. Where did the idea for that song come from?
That's the left field tune of the album, the unexpected. Well, I mean, it's hard to say where songs come from sometimes, but I remember was thinking a dear friend of mine had just got diagnosed with cancer, a terminal kind of cancer, and I had lots of pressing sort of slightly mundane day-to-day chores to do, and my parents needed me to order a toilet seat for the downstairs toilet because it kept slipping off, and my dad's not terribly well at the moment. And I just thought, wow, my mind is full of these ridiculous things, ranging from complete, ludicrous to toilet seat ordering through to someone prematurely dying very, very early on in life. And I thought, this is so strange. And I thought, it's kind of an act of meditation. I thought, I'm going to just write exactly what I'm thinking and try and be as present as possible and document all these funny thoughts that are coming out of my mind at the time. So it just started on a scrap of paper, as you can hear in the song, just writing this long waffle. And then I thought, I wonder if I can just turn this into a piece of music, or at least a piece of art, some sort of musical offering. And I thought, I'm going to do it.
When I listened to the album, I was trying to find a predominant theme that runs through the songs on this album. Do you have an answer for that? What's the one theme that comes through?
I suppose it's relationships. I suppose that's the main thing. Because I've felt I've wanted to sort of do my own album for a long time, this is my first one of all my songs, so it feels like sort of the beginning of something. And so it's a kind of purge, really. There's lots of, there's obviously failed relationship stuff in it, but then there's a song about my dad in it and the sadness of watching his illness. He has Parkinson's and depression, and kind of how it feels to watch his sort of decline as his daughter. And, my frustration with that. Yeah, failed relationships. My friend Jenny, I wrote Towards the Sun. The last track on the album is about my friend Jenny, who now has died. But how, I navigate trying to work out what it is to be alive, and, how I can keep hopeful, and how I can keep thoughtful, and kind of have a balance of contemplation and action in my life, without, do you know the brilliant mind Richard Rohr? He's a Franciscan friar, I think, in New Mexico, who's kind of, I guess, ideologies I really love. He's got a center called the Center for Action and Contemplation, and I find it just a great reminder of, action without thought can be a bit stupid sometimes, and, sitting around and not really doing anything is a somewhat waste of a life. And I suppose I'm just kind of trying to write, I guess I want to write more and more universal songs, but this initial album was, just letting it all out for now.
For me as a listener, the difference between this album and your other albums is that your other albums make very good background music. So if I'm having a dinner party, those albums provide an ambiance. But with this new album, I want to listen to the lyrics. I'm paying close attention to what you're trying to convey to us. That's the difference for me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I've thought, obviously you think about things, as I'm written and arranged sort of the whole album more or less. I'm thinking about, you think about it, in all these different components. I'm thinking about the instrumentation that I'd like, where I can leave space, where it needs a little push, and yeah, and what I want to say, The Hair and the Toilet Seat is a spoken word song, but it's a stream of consciousness and a song that I thought, why not? It's my album. I can put it on there if I want. It doesn't, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but it's got a little something, and I'm going to put it on there. And I suppose, I hope to keep developing as an artist as well as a songstress. I'll always love singing other people's songs. And there's a reason over 100 years later, people are still singing these extraordinary jazz, we call them standards, they're anything but the Great American Songbook. They're masterful compositions, and they talk about things that most people can connect with. But I suppose I'm interested in also telling my tales too.
One of your albums, called Many Faces of Love, included a bonus DVD with 9 performances. Is there any chance you'll put out another DVD one day?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy rocking in the studio, but I'm very much a live performer. I really enjoy the experience of just having people there and that energy you get off each other. Music is such a, it's such a deep and spiritual thing, really. I love people to be there with me. And I find it fascinating, exciting too. You never know. You get a group of human beings, the same number of human beings in one room, one night, same on the other, and it's completely different. And I love that. It keeps me excited. So hopefully, yeah.
You said something earlier in this interview. You said that this business is not for the faint-hearted. I read an interview you gave a few years ago, Polly, where you referred to the music industry as indescribably difficult and quite terrible. I would go further and say that from what I've been told by many music stars who have appeared on our show, the music industry is absolutely brutal. What do you think makes the music business so terribly difficult?
Well, I guess on a very basic, the most basic level, it's because music is possibly the best thing that we have on the planet that we can encounter. We have it from sound and noise, we have from the womb, and harmony orbits our planet. It vibrates at the Earth's core. It's in nature. It's pure. It's free. It's deep, and it's joyous, and it's everywhere. And then there's money, and I think the marriage of something so beautiful and wonderful, and then that kind of trying to exploit anything like that is always going to get a bit ugly. Human beings, we take things that are wonderful and we make it a bit ugly sometimes.
Because it's a business.
That's right. It's turned into a business, and really they don't belong together, But, I understand why it's a big business. It's because it's so brilliant. It's because it's so powerful. But it makes it very difficult, and there's a lot of, the world of business, it's just not something I understand, really. It's not something and yet it's quite odd, because I've kind of been in business. As soon as you start taking money for gigs, or, being paid to sing, or having people buy your musical offerings off you're in business. And it's, wiser people than me do it a lot better, and I think I've struggled to make sense of that. I still do, really. And I know that I've been on the back foot because of it. And I think you probably handled my business differently, but I wasn't well versed in it. And I also wasn't taught. My parents never really said, now, the world, this is how it operates. Money, you're going to need it. This is what you need it for. You've got to put your price, you've got to put some worth on it, because my parents taught me that I'm loved for who I am, not for what I do. Those wonderful Christian values kind of maybe left me a little bit confused at times about, the way of the world, and operating in it. So, yeah.
Have you developed a way of dealing with all the ups and downs and the unpredictability of the music business?
I guess I've learned a huge amount over the years. I still feel very cautious. I think I've returned, making this new album as it is has felt a very special experience for me, because I've I use the word command, not control, because I'm not in control of very much, I've realized, but I can command certain things and put things out there. And that's what I've done from the very beginning, in the writing of the songs, and right through to trying to find money for it through crowdfunding and my own money. And it's been interesting learning how to navigate that. And it's felt really good. It's been amazingly hard work, but it's felt like an important experience to know exactly what's involved in it all. And it's massive, it's no joke that the actual music part of it is only 5% and the rest is 95% hustle and perspiration. And now we've got this bizarre world of social media, which is like another sort of planet and another job that you have to sort of bear in mind, which I've been trying with lately. But it's been invaluable. I don't know whether I'm definitely gathering skills. I'm not sure exactly what I've learned yet.
Well, you never find that out until the end result. I want to tell our viewers that you can learn more about Polly Gibbons, see her concert schedule, and buy her music by going to her official website, pollygibbons.com. And you can also follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to her YouTube channel. Well, Polly, tell us what's next in your career plan.
Well, I'm going to be launching this new album at the excellent and brilliant Ronnie Scott's in London on the 1st of July, which will be fun. It's the first time I've had such a big band. There's an eight-piece band with 3 backing vocalists and guitar and Hammond organ, and so that should be fun. And then I'm doing a little festival in the UK too, and then I'm going to Hungary in September for some gigs. So I'm carrying on, and meanwhile I'm writing and trying to think about, I guess, how best to promote as it is, and release little tidbits. My little sister Lydia very kindly, I went to visit her in Brazil actually, and she kindly put together a little video of the single Disappointed for me. So I'm going to release that, and just trying to navigate this, wild ride as kind of kindly and open as I can be. Yeah. Keep writing, keep creating.
I have a feeling you're going to end up in America within the next year. I just have a strong feeling, and I'm going to be in the front row at Birdland watching you do another residency, winning over all the jazz aficionados on the New York nightlife scene. I can see it happening.
Do you reckon? I reckon, yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, this new album is, I think there's some room for keeping my swing. I'll add some sort of soul-y tune from the new record in as well. I think it would work quite well.
Well, Polly, it's been such a pleasure to meet you and to have this opportunity to get to know the woman behind that amazing voice. Thank you for all the beautiful music. I wish you the best of luck with the new album. And thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you, Harvey.
Our guest has been internationally renowned jazz singer Polly Gibbons, whose new album, As It Is, will be released on June 30th and will be available on her website and every major music streaming platform. And you can pre-order the vinyl edition on her website now. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my director of programming, Deborah Batsafin, my PR director, Laurie Towers, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.